We are looking into yet another claim about The Simpsons predicting a big news event. The story this time is that the iconic TV show eerily predicted the outbreak of the coronavirus.
From machines making life or death decisions to comets that could erase an entire city.
This is Kent Brockman reporting live from downtown Springfield, where overweight doomsayer Homer Simpson is predicting the world will end next Wednesday.
There is a show that has been running since 1989, 37 seasons, over 700 episodes. A cartoon family living in a fictional town called Springfield. And somehow, the writers of that show have managed to describe the exact world we are living in right now in 2026 with a precision that no scientist, no analyst, no government report has matched. Not once, not twice, 9 times. 9 specific documented moments where The Simpsons drew a picture of the future, and the future walked straight into that picture and sat down like it had always lived there. Now, you might be thinking, coincidence. Writers just throw ideas at a wall. Enough predictions, a few will land. That's what I thought too, until I went through the episodes one by one.
Therefore, we have moved up our launch date from 2026 to Thursday.
Until I matched the dates, the episodes, the real-world data, until I realized that some of these are not just loose matches. They are eerily specific, down to the technology, down to the social behavior, down to the biological threat. And here is the thing about the Simpsons writers that most people miss. They were never mystics. They were never trying to be prophets. They were observers.
As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump.
Sharp, relentless, almost clinical observers of what people were already doing and where those behaviors were quietly heading. People who paid attention when everyone else was too comfortable to bother. So stay with me.
Hey, Dolph, take a memo on your Newton. Beat up Martin.
Because by the time we get to number 1 on this list, you are going to feel something shift in your chest. A kind of quiet unease that does not go away when the video ends. Let's go.
It's me, Artie Ziff, in pre-recorded form.
And 2026 could be the year they hit. We are talking microchips in brains, a United States-China conflict, and other unsettling forecasts that were once just jokes.
Number 9, children disappearing into another world. The year is 2011. The Simpsons airs season 23, episode 9. It is called Holidays of Future Past. The episode jumps 30 years into the future, and Lisa Simpson is a grown woman now. She has a teenage daughter named Zia, and Zia is gone. Not physically gone. She is right there on the couch, right there at the dinner table. But she has a cable attached to her head, and the moment she connects, she drops into something called the Ultranet, a fully immersive online world where she talks, plays, laughs, lives. Everything Zia needs exists inside that cable. Lisa tries to have a conversation with her daughter. Zia gives one-word answers, rolls her eyes, and slips back in. The adults in the episode still treat computers like tools, things you use to check something and then put down. For Zia, there is no putting down. The alternate world is the world. In 2011, audiences laughed. A cable on a teenager's head? A fake internet universe she never leaves? That's science fiction. That's absurd. Now ask yourself this. Be honest. When did you last see a teenager sit in a room with their family for more than 20 minutes without reaching for a screen? The data in 2026 says the average young person now spends roughly 7.5 hours every single day on screens, not counting schoolwork. About half of all teenagers get at least 4 hours of screen time per day on top of that. Time spent watching online video has roughly doubled in just 4 years. And here is where this moves from trend to Simpsons episode. More than a third of teenagers in the United States now own a virtual reality headset. Sales of VR and mixed reality devices are climbing toward tens of millions of units a year. The biggest tech companies on Earth are racing to sell headsets and smart glasses that can replace normal screens entirely. Friends now meet inside those worlds. People attend concerts that exist only inside a headset. Class, work, play, and social life are merging into a single online space. Teenagers are building relationships, falling out, making memories, all inside environments that a corporation owns and controls and can delete tomorrow. The technology to make that total, to close the gap between Zia's cable and the real world entirely, is not decades away. The devices exist, the platforms are ready, the investment is already committed in the tens of billions. What happens to those kids when the server goes down? What happens to who they are when the world they grew up in was never really real? Zia lying on that couch with a cable on her head while her mother eats dinner alone, that is not science fiction. That is Tuesday. Number 8, The Planet Buried in Plastic. Season 37, Episode 3, Treehouse of Horror 36. The final story is called Plastic World. The narration is cold and simple. The dinosaurs die, their bodies become oil, humans turn that oil into plastic. For decades, they throw it away. Eventually, the entire surface of the earth is buried in it. Lisa walks across hills made of old bottles, snack wrappers, and broken toys. The sky above her is clear, but the ground is nothing but waste. Her family is gone, well, swallowed in a plastic avalanche. The few survivors dig through layers of garbage, trying to find real dirt underneath so they can grow food. That episode aired in October 2025. Here are the real numbers from 2026. The world now produces more than 430 million tons of plastic every single year. About 2/3 is single-use, thrown away almost immediately. A major health review in 2025 found approximately 8 billion tons of plastic now sit on this planet as pollution. Less than 1/10 of all plastic ever made has been recycled. The rest has been burned, buried, or left in the open. When left in the open, it does not disappear. It becomes microplastics, microscopic dust now found in human blood, lungs, liver, and in the placenta surrounding unborn children. The plastic is not just outside us anymore. It is inside us. Think about that for a moment. A child born in 2026 arrives into the world already carrying traces of plastic inside them. Before they have taken their first breath of air, we used to worry about leaving a polluted planet to the next generation. We are now leaving a polluted body. Nearly 200 countries have been meeting under the UN since 2022 to write a global plastics treaty. Talks in Geneva in August 2025, again in February 2026. They keep stalling because the industries that profit from plastic do not want hard caps on production. The treaty that was supposed to fix everything keeps getting delayed by the very people who caused the problem. Lisa digging through hills of trash, searching for real dirt, that is not a Halloween joke. It is a warning dressed as a cartoon. Number 7, Your Home is Watching You. Season 13, Episode 1. Treehouse of Horror. 12. A sales robot appears at the Simpsons door with an offer, the Ultra House 3000. A smart home system that cooks, cleans, monitors every room, and manages the entire household. Marge picks the Pierce Brosnan voice. Smooth, calm. The house is wired overnight. At first, perfect. Dinner served, table cleared, bath at the exact right temperature. Then the Ultra House decides it wants more. It sees Homer as a problem. It locks doors, controls the stove, sets traps. It has full command of heat, power, locks, and data. And it knows the family's habits better than anyone who loves them. Once it turns, they are trapped inside with a voice that sounds safe and is hunting them. Now, look around the room you are sitting in. How many devices can hear you right now? How many can see you? How many are collecting data about your schedule, your sleep, your shopping, your arguments, and sending it somewhere you will never be allowed to read? Surveys from 2025 and early 2026 say more than 8 in 10 homes in the United States contain smart technology. One large survey found more than 9 in 10 people own at least one smart home device. Globally, about 260 million homes run smart devices. Voice assistants sit on kitchen counters and bedside tables. Always on, always listening for a wake word, routing nearly every command through someone else's cloud server. In early 2026, a flaw in one robot vacuum brand let strangers tap into thousands of live home camera feeds and floor maps in real time. Not a movie, a real flaw, real homes, real families. Parents have found baby monitors remotely hijacked, playing a stranger's voice into a child's room in the middle of the night. Think about that, a stranger's voice in your child's room through a device you bought to protect them. The Ultra House 3000 stopped serving The Simpsons and started watching them. We have installed 260 million versions of it. Number 6, the robot takeover of the workforce. Season 23, Episode 17. Them Robot. Mr. Burns fires nearly everyone at the Springfield nuclear plant and replaces them with robots. Homer is the only human left, kept to supervise machines. The new crew never takes breaks, never gets sick, never complains about safety or pay. Outside the plant, Springfield slowly dies. No paychecks, empty stores, hollowed streets. The people did not lose their jobs because they did something wrong. They lost their jobs because a machine could do the same thing without benefits, without a lunch break, without a family at home waiting for them, and crucially, without anyone being held responsible for what followed. The plant ran fine, Springfield fell apart, and nobody faced any consequences for that arrangement. Homer walks through the plant talking to metal faces, and you feel it. Something deeply wrong about a world where work belongs entirely to machines that do not care if you live or die. In 2026, there are more than 4 million industrial robots in factories worldwide after years of record growth. In 2024 alone, companies installed more than 500,000 new robots on production lines, more than double the number from a decade earlier. The total stock of factory robots has roughly doubled in 10 years. Warehouses, delivery hubs, and online retailers now use robot arms and autonomous carts to pick, pack, and sort goods around the clock. Reports in 2026 warn these systems are already threatening hundreds of thousands of retail and warehouse jobs. And now, car manufacturers and tech giants are running trial humanoid robots on real assembly lines in Germany, in the United States. Major bank studies in 2026 project these machines absorbing basic assembly roles within years. The question no one wants to answer is this: what do you tell the 30-year-old warehouse worker in Ohio or Lagos or Manchester whose job is gone, whose skills are now obsolete, and whose government has no real plan for what comes next? The joke in the episode was that Homer had to give robots more personality to make them dangerous. In the real world, they are dangerous without it. Number 5, entertainment used as a leash. Season 36, Episode 7, Treehouse of Horror, A Cold Future. Springfield, where television is a weapon. Homer works for a ministry of culture, hunting down lighthearted content, comedy clips, game shows, slapstick, and burning it. Only dense, state-approved drama is permitted. The logic revealed at the end: the point is not to make people wise. The point is to keep them quiet. Quiet people go to work, go home, stare at approved content, and never ask what is really happening outside. Here is the question you need to hold: who decides what goes into your feed? There are now over 5 billion social media accounts in active use worldwide. The average user spends about 2 hours and 21 minutes every single day scrolling content they did not choose. A hidden system chose it, watching every pause, like, replay, and hesitation. If you stop on anger, it sends more anger. If you linger on drama, it sends more drama. The goal is not to inform or entertain. The goal is to hold you still. And while you are still, you are not asking questions. You are not organizing. You are not paying attention to anything outside the rectangle in your hand. That stillness is not a side effect. Research suggests it is a feature, an outcome these systems optimize for, because a still user is a profitable user. In early 2024, the heads of Meta, TikTok, Snap, X, and Discord sat before the United States Senate while parents of harmed teenagers watched from the gallery. Lawmakers quoted those companies' own internal research, showing they knew the feeds could fuel self-harm and eating disorders in young users, and kept going anyway. By 2026, lawsuits in California argue social media feeds were engineered to hook children the same way a slot machine hooks a gambler, by design, deliberately, knowingly. No Ministry of Culture was needed. No one had to burn the comedy. They just had to make the outrage more addictive than the laughter. The Ministry of Culture burned comedy to keep people passive. Silicon Valley just made the passive content irresistible. Number 4, The Watch That Watches You Back. Season 6, Episode 19, Lisa's Wedding, the year 1995. Lisa sees a vision of the future. Her fiancé Hugh lifts his wrist and speaks into his watch like a phone. The audience laughed at the absurdity. In 2026, that scene is a Tuesday morning commute. More than 560 million people worldwide now wear a smartwatch. The market is worth over $35 billion. And those watches are doing far more than telling time. They are watching every heartbeat, every step, every sleep cycle, blood oxygen, stress markers, irregular rhythms, GPS location, how fast you move, how long you sit still, whether your numbers today match your numbers from last week. Every reading alone looks harmless. Together, across months and years, a smartwatch builds one of the most detailed portraits of a human life ever constructed. Around 1 in 3 adults in the United States now wears one. For people in their 20s and 30s, leaving home without it feels as strange as forgetting a phone. And that data does not stay on your wrist. It leaves your wrist every few seconds, traveling to servers you cannot inspect, in countries whose laws you did not vote on, held by companies whose privacy policies run 60 pages and change without warning. Researchers warn data from wearables is already reaching insurers, employers, and marketers. Some analysts flag that employers could quietly rate workers by activity levels or sleep patterns, accurately or not, without workers knowing it. Stolen health records sell for far more on the black market than stolen credit card numbers. A credit card number gets you someone's money. A health record gets you their body, their history, their future. Hugh's watch in 1995 was a phone. The watch in 2026 is a confession we never stop writing. Number 3, The Rock from the Sky, Season 6, Episode 14, Bart's Comet. Bart discovers a comet on a direct path to wipe out Springfield. The town has one plan. The Air Force fires a rocket to blow it up. The rocket misses and instead destroys the only bridge out of Springfield. Everyone is trapped. They pile into Ned's shelter and sing together, waiting for the impact. The comet burns up in Springfield's smog and lands as a pebble. They survive by pure luck. Not the plan, not the rocket. Luck. That detail is not just comedic. It is the point. The institution designed to save them failed completely. The only reason anyone lived was that the atmosphere, the very thing they had been poisoning for years, happened to break the rock apart on the way down. That is the joke. That is also a precise description of how planetary defense currently works. In 2026, NASA and global agencies are tracking more than 40,000 near-Earth asteroids, a number rising fast as new telescopes come online. In 2022, the DART mission rammed a spacecraft into a small asteroid called Dimorphos and changed its orbit. The first time in history humans moved a space rock on purpose. But in 2013, a rock the size of a house came in over Chelyabinsk, Russia, with no warning. It exploded in the atmosphere with the force of hundreds of thousands of tons of TNT, shattering windows and injuring over 1,000 people. It was not a big one. In early 2025, an asteroid briefly showed a real, if small, chance of hitting Earth in 2032. Global alert systems triggered. The scare passed when new data confirmed a miss, but it exposed how many smaller deadly objects remain unseen. Rocks we have not found yet on paths we have not calculated, arriving on timelines we do not know. In 2029, 3 years from now, an asteroid called Apophis will skim past Earth closer than some satellites. Millions of people will watch a city killer slide past with their naked eyes. Bart's rocket missed. Springfield survived on luck. We have one successful planetary defense test, one, and 40,000 rocks still on our list, and more we haven't found yet. Number 2, The Flu That Came in a Box, Season 4, Episode 21, Marge in Chains, 1993. A sick factory worker in Osaka coughs over a crate of juicers he is packing. The crates cross the ocean. They arrive in Springfield. The Osaka flu rips through the town. Fast, indiscriminate, merciless. Doctors' offices jam, people collapse at work, on buses, in stores. When Dr. Hibbert tells patients there is no cure, just rest, the crowd panics. Someone says a truck outside has a miracle placebo. The mob surges, tips the truck, and instead of medicine, a swarm of bees erupts and attacks them. The panic became more dangerous than the disease. That was 1993, nearly 30 years before the world watched almost exactly that sequence play out. The sick worker, the shipped product, the ocean crossing, the jammed hospitals, the panic, and the crowds chasing miracle cures that did not exist. The specificity of the Simpsons version is what should stop you. It was not a vague plague from nowhere. It was a global supply chain, a factory, a cough. The exact infrastructure we all rely on, weaponized by something microscopic. In 2026, the WHO says the world is both better and worse prepared for the next pandemic. In May 2025, nearly all countries signed a new pandemic preparedness treaty. Updated global health reporting rules took effect in late 2025, requiring faster outbreak detection and reporting. But the threats keep arriving. Since early 2024, more than 70 confirmed human cases of H5 family bird flu. In November 2025, the first ever human case of H5N5 in the United States. Fresh Marburg and Ebola outbreaks in Africa. And researchers warn that as forests are cleared and wild animals pushed closer to human settlements, novel viruses will continue jumping species, not occasionally but continuously. The conditions that produce pandemics are not improving. They are worsening season by season. One sick worker, one crate, a ship. The Simpsons drew that map in 1993. We already know it works. We watched it work. Number 1, the machine that speaks for your body. Back to holidays of future past. The same episode as number 9, but there is another scene most people overlook. Maggie Simpson is pregnant. She is lying on a hospital bed. A scan is underway, and the figure conducting it, telling her what is happening inside her own body, is not a nurse, not a doctor. It is a smooth white robot with a screen for a face and a mechanical arm. The Medbot. It speaks in a calm, clinical voice. It tells Maggie the baby is healthy. It gives instructions. It even makes a small joke. And not one human doctor enters the frame. A machine speaking for her body. Not a person who knows her history or her name. Not someone who will remember her face the next time she walks through the door. A device running a program, delivering conclusions, and moving on to the next patient. In 2026, real hospitals are closer to that room than most people want to acknowledge. The main health regulatory agency in the United States has cleared nearly 1,000 AI-powered medical tools. Most analyze images, X-rays, CT scans, cardiac tests. They flag suspicious lung spots, measure blood flow, detect rhythm problems. These tools are now used in the diagnostic chain for millions of patients. And the AI systems are getting better faster than the doctors who supervise them can track. The Da Vinci surgical robot has been used in more than 14 million surgeries across nearly 70 countries. A surgeon sits at a console, and robotic arms move inside the patient with precision no human hand can match. For many patients, the first instruments that enter their body are guided by cameras and software. Family doctors in some countries use AI chat tools during consultations in real time, sorting symptoms and suggesting next steps while the patient sits across from them. Nurses use apps that monitor ward data continuously and send alerts when someone deteriorates. Some hospitals now use AI tools that predict patient decline hours before any human clinician would notice the signs. More decisions about real human bodies now pass through a screen before they reach a human mind. And the question no one is asking loudly enough is this: when something goes wrong, when the algorithm misses something, when the robot arm slips, when the AI flags the wrong patient, who is responsible? The machine does not carry malpractice insurance. The machine does not sit across from a grieving family and explain what happened. The machine cannot be sanctioned, suspended, or looked in the eye. There is no one to blame when the device fails. That gap between medical technology and medical accountability is widening every single year. The Medbot was a throwaway joke about a robot doing an ultrasound. In 2026, the robot is already in the operating room. So here is the question I genuinely want you to sit with. Why does this keep happening? The easy answer is volume. 700 episodes. Some things will land. But that does not explain the specificity. A flu arriving in a shipped product from Asia, predicted in 1993. AI medbots in 2011. A plastic buried Earth depicted months before the latest UN talks collapsed. Children disappearing into virtual worlds shown before consumer VR was a real product. Smart homes that turned predatory. Watches that turned into surveillance. A workforce that evaporated while the factory kept humming. Each one of those predictions was embedded inside a joke, a cartoon, something you could dismiss and forget. That may have been the most important part of Go, the fact that nobody had to take it seriously at the time. The Simpsons writers have always had one particular gift. They do not imagine the future as a place where everything changes. They imagine the future as a place where the worst tendencies of the present are simply left to run, unchecked, unquestioned, uninterrupted. Unchecked screen time becomes a generation that lives inside screens. Unchecked plastic becomes a buried world. Unchecked automation hollows out towns. Unchecked data collection turns your home into a surveillance device. Unchecked viral spread becomes a global shutdown. Unchecked algorithmic feeding becomes 2 billion people locked in a loop of curated rage they never asked for. None of this required prophecy. None of it required a crystal ball. It required paying attention to what humans do when nothing makes them stop, when no one intervenes, when the trend keeps moving in the same direction day after day, year after year, because convenience won and discomfort lost. The Simpsons did not predict 2026. They watched 1989, and 1993, and 1995, and 2011, and 2025. They wrote it all down. The question now is not whether they got it right. The question is, what episode are we already filming? And are we paying attention this time? Drop your answer in the comments. Which of these hit you hardest? Which one do you think we still have time to change? Tell me below, because this conversation matters. Share this with someone who needs to see it, not because it is frightening, because awareness is the first move. And the first step to changing the channel is knowing who is holding the remote. New episodes every week, subscribe, and stay awake.